It's time for Townscape. Townscape, where Tempo FM tracks down and investigates things of interest in the local community. Hello and welcome to Townscape, Drovers Day 2024. I'm Eric Ovenden. Sunday the 9th of June was a very special day in Wetherby. It was Drovers Day. A few days before the event, Martin Doxey from the Wetherby Lions came into studio to talk to my good friend Paul Andrews and myself about what the day was about and what was likely to be happening on that occasion. I'd found a track called Drovers Way, so we're going to listen to that now, as it very adequately explains the life of drovers some 200 years ago as they passed through Wetherby.
By crag and fell and mountainside, by babbling brook and rivers glide, the paths we know and keep with pride, and who could us gainsay? Enchanted by the piper's charm, our cattle there to keep from harm, through balmy days or rain or storm, for that's the drover's way. The piper keeps a measured stride, 12 miles a day till eventide, and then they let the cattle bide, the dogs rein in the strays. And in a nearby inn or barn, the drovers rest before the morn, but some must watch until the dawn, while the oxen safely graze. The herds are not the craven breed, for they the lower pastures need. Black Scottish cattle will succeed where rarefies the air. Near Malham Tarn such pasture lies, to fatten them to market size, when they become the butcher's prize, when auctioned at the fair. Now railways run the country round, the drovers forced to settle down, and follow not the piper's sound, his droving days are through. But he may find a Yorkshire lass along the road he used to pass, and put his cattle out to grass in verdant pastures new. But sometimes early in the spring, when softly blows the fragrant wind, and through the air the larks do sing upon the morning clear, just for a moment he may see, though rooted to the farm he be, a vision of the far country, the green lanes reappear. Just for a moment he may see, though rooted to the farm he be, a vision of the far country, the green lanes reappear.
So Martin, that's the background to why the drovers were in and through Wetherby, but last year was the first of, that I'm aware of the drovers' days. What set it up and why?
It was set up as part of Leeds City of Culture in 2023. Leeds, through Kezia Knight, who many people in the town will know, decided to have an event in every town or every ward of Wetherby. And Wetherby ward, we got together and thought, well, what can we do that's different? Kezia and I brainstormed it and ended up talking to Rob Gray from the Bandstand Trust, and we came up with the idea of having a bandstand marching contest through the town. and it went from strength to strength there. Leeds City Council backed us, gave us some money, gave us some infrastructure, and kicked the whole thing off, which we're eternally grateful to, as we are to the Town Council, who also helped us. So it came from that, and out of it came a book, out of it came the brass band marching contest, out of us came a sort of renewal of the history of the people, because the droving thing built the town, but it's not the history of kings and queens and dukes and duchesses. It's the history of the people who walked through this town for a couple of 100 years. There were hundreds of thousands of cattle walking through Wetherby and spending their money and building our town up. So it's something to celebrate. That's what started it, Eric.
And many of the older residents of Wetherby, including myself, will remember where we had the cattle market in the middle of Wetherby, now a supermarket, not a cattle market, and the stories and pictures of the odd animals doing a runner from the. I remember in the High Street, the whole herd had got out and were wandering down the High Street.
I keep telling my partner in crime, Rob Gray, from the Bandstand Trust, that he should be leading a cow through the town on the day as a bit of a publicity stunt, but I can't get him to do it.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we ought to explain to listeners that we're not having a herd of Frisians trotting down High Street, are we?
No, it's brass bands marching through, and it's really all about celebrating the culture of brass band music and letting people have access to it. We've got 18 bands marching through the town. There'll be events in the Garden of Rest area, and then there'll be music going on throughout the day.
Are they all Yorkshire bands, or are they coming from further afield?
We've got some from the northeast, some from over the dark side in Lancashire. There's the people coming from all over. There's coachloads of people coming, actually, which is great.
This does fascinate me going back. I mean, many people who have been incomers to Wetherby will have not heard a lot of this history. I mean, so much in Wetherby over the last 30 years has changed, but certainly the nature of Wetherby, if you see the old photographs, what sort of town do you think it would have looked like when the drovers came through?
Well, if you get several thousand cows a day walking through the middle of the town, I think it'd be a pretty smelly place. I would imagine it was ankle or knee deep in cow muck.
Nice gardens, though.
Yeah, good gardens. Yeah. I would imagine all the inns and the like would be full, and there'd be a certain amount of cows not making it, so I would imagine meat would be a reasonable value for money in Wetherby in the old days.
Imagine rustlers would have an effect on some of the herds as they were coming, because it's quite a long distance, isn't it? They were walking.
Oh, yeah.
I presume Wetherby was roughly halfway.
It's more or less exactly halfway. Yeah, and they did about 12 miles a day, as it said in the song beautiful song you've just played. They did about 12 miles a day, so they would be pitching the tents. They had symbols like different trees and things to mark out where they could rest, and obviously they'd have to spend some money. One of the interesting parts of the history for me is the fact that they take several families' entire yearly income and walking these cows from Scotland, right down to the southeast of England, and they'd end up with a bag of gold. How are they going to get back from the southeast of England to Scotland with a bag of gold and not get mugged? And the answer was, it was one of the roots of our banking system, because they exchanged the gold for promissory notes, which were only of value for them, and cashed them in when they got back to Scotland. So this is sort of a real interesting aspect if you don't think of how these things actually worked.
I mean, we were wondering last week, if you remember, Eric, just how exactly they got back. Did they basically just turn a walk
back? And I would imagine if they could afford it, they'd get a ship back, because it'd be a lot quicker.
Yes,
but they'd have to take the dogs back and the horses if they were riding horses or walking. Don't know, probably walking. But they'd have to get back, and they could only do it by walking or ship in those days.
Yes.
Because, the whole thing was undermined by the railways. As soon as the railways came, the droving stopped.
Yes.
That was the end of it.
Yeah, they were saying that on the song, weren't they?
That actually makes sense, that given London was such a major port up until probably the 1960s, that you'd have probably got a coaster, wouldn't you, from there back to Leith or somewhere on the Forth. Yeah. Thinking about the background to it all, you were saying that they walked all the way. Now, presumably, you've got to look after the cattle all the way, because they'll start with a certain weight and if they're burning off calories, they're not going to be quite such good value, are they, by the time they get to the south?
No, exactly right, Eric. But what they tended to do was drive them down into Suffolk and Norfolk, and then fatten them up, and then drive them again to Smithfield. So it was like a two-stage process. So they'd be pretty lean, skinny, and whatever when they were coming through here, but then they would be fattened up prior to slaughter.
You were mentioning about markers where they might stop. Is it likely that because this was a regular annual event that people would say, it's May time or whatever it is, let's put the markers out and make the same arrangements as we did last year? Is that likely to have happened?
I would imagine so, yeah. I mean, I think it was a pretty year-round trade, but it would be peaking in the autumn, I would have thought. People would have adapted all that, wouldn't they? And they'd have a field and grow a crop on it. When that's cleared, they can use it for let the cattle graze it off or whatever.
Coming to the modern day, to 2024, would you like to explain a bit more about what's happening?
There's a rock group called the Strolling Bones.
Sounds like the thin cattle that have been going down there, doesn't it? Yeah.
And then the roads close and the marching bands start. They start off at the New Inn, a band every 12 minutes. They start off at the New Inn, they march down onto the horse fair, then they perform another number at the horse fair area, which we set up as a performance area in front of boats, basically. So there'll be near continuous music there. They'll then go down and do what we call an entertainment march, which is a load of jiggling about down by St Angelo's down to the roundabout, and then they'll be performing another number in the bandstand. So there'll be things happening all there.
Martin, we've been talking about Drovers Day, the history where the cattle were driven through Wetherby on their way from Scotland to the south, and the celebration for Drovers Day, a plethora of bands and all the rest of it being organised. So, Paul, I think you want to pick up on that.
Yes, I was just wondering, Martin, it is a competition.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Obviously, it's going to be a good entertainment, and I'm sure a lot of people enjoy it, but it's a competition as well. Are there prizes for the winner? And where and when are they judged? Is it just down at the bandstand? Or?
Yes, okay. Well, there are 18 bands coming, and they are judged on their deportment, their marching. They're judged on their performances in the horse fair area and at the bandstand. So there are 3 judges, and there are actually lots of cash prizes, which largely is generated by the fact that they pay to play here. That covers sort of 2/3 of the prizes, and the rest of it comes from the event overall. So these bands are sought everywhere. There's more opportunities for them to play than they can manage. So we have to make them an offering to make them come and enjoy it. And I think everybody loves being in Wetherby and loves being in the Riverside, because it's probably the more prettiest setting for a bandstand in the country. It's absolutely idyllic. So we'll have judges sat in each of those areas or walking with them when they're marching. And that's how it'll be judged. And it is a very precise process. The judges aren't allowed to know which order the bands are coming in. In our programme and our brochures, you'll not see who's playing when, because it's a secret. So the judges can't form an opinion. So it's all highly competitive and highly regulated. It matters to the people that are coming, and but they do make a fantastic spectacle to see when they're coming past.
We often talk about volunteers on the programme, and how, because of work commitments and so on, it often tends to be older people that do the volunteering. Now, I do know that there are around the country junior bands or sections of bands, with a junior section in them. So are you expecting some younger folks?
Oh, yes, there are younger bands, and there are special prizes for the young bands and for the young soloists. And that's an important part of the day, to encourage young people. And young people will be helping us on the day. Some of the younger new lions will be helping us, especially the women lions. They're coming more and more into our network, and the young people within the Bandstand Trust.
Right.
So yes, that is all very important to us. I should also say that all 3 of our ward councillors have volunteered to help on the day. They're actually physically going to be helping us marshalling the crowds.
Right.
And we're grateful to them for their support. Leeds City Council, the Town Council, everywhere we've gone, we've had excellent support. And
Have you got, or are you hoping perhaps for next year for sponsorship?
We've got the local businesses have been fantastic.
Good.
And
Yeah.
a number of them have sponsored the programme. You know, there must be 40 odd businesses locally who have sponsored us through the programme. The bands will have a banner behind them, as some of the businesses have sponsored individual bands,
right.
So they'll have a banner behind the band. They'll have a band number in front on a banner staff, but then they'll have an advert sort of thing on the back, which helps finance the whole thing. So, so yes, the local businesses have been great. I mean, we did make a mistake last year. In all honesty, we did it on a Saturday, and it did adversely affect some of the businesses. They were very keen for us to do it on Sunday this time, which we've done.
I was a bit worried about you talking about deportments. Now, does that mean some of the bands are going to be sent to Rwanda if they're not very good?
No, deportment means walking nicely, I think.
Yes.
I can tell you didn't go to finishing school, Eric, else you'd have been doing the deportment, wouldn't you?
Is that the case that in this modern era, that because many people will not have done time in the services or done any form of square bashing, that actually it's more difficult to get bands to march in step these days?
It takes a lot more puff, so it's much harder for the elderly band people, to be honest. So yes, I'm sure it makes it more difficult. On the other hand, it's a challenge, and a lot of these brass bands were about marching in communities, and Whit Sunday. I mean, where I was brought up in a village, Whit Sunday was a big deal. Everybody paraded through the town behind the brass band, and again, it's a part of our culture from not so long ago when there was more of this. But it's certainly a big thing in certain parts of the country. They have Whit Sunday marches in Lancashire, and it's a massive deal. They have marches up in the northeast. So there is a gap for us to fill in Yorkshire.
You were saying that last year it was a Saturday. You learnt from the fact that there were improvements to be made, hence it's a Sunday this year. But these aren't a 5-minute job setting this up. I assume you've been on this most of a year?
Yes, talk to my wife, and Helen's been amazingly patient. But there's a team of us. There's a whole team in Wetherby District Lions Club. There's a whole team in the Bandstand Trust. Rob Gray, who's everybody knows around the town. He does all the organising. He's been working very well with me. Jan Branton, Kezia Knight, who I've already mentioned, and the Lions. So there's a big group of us doing this, but it's tremendous. The road closure paperwork and finances, the police clearance. There's a whole thing you have to do to make one of these things go, and it's. I dread to think how many hours of hard labour's gone in from many people to make it all work. To be honest, we've had some practice with our Dickensian Christmas market. Some of the things run in parallel, and John Wardley from our Lions Club, he's done that for years, and again we'll be doing that. So it does keep our eye in, if you like.
And Tempo FM are planning to be out and about around the town during certainly the morning, and just to catch the atmosphere and encourage people to come down. So, Martin, thank you ever so much for coming in to talk to us, and I'm looking forward to this year's Drovers Day. And no doubt, Martin, you're looking forward to a lot of volunteers for Lions for the future to keep this going.
Absolutely, yeah. Just look on our website, wetherbylions.org. Phone us up. People are welcome to join us and get great satisfaction from helping other people. That's what it's ever about.
Martin Doxey from the Wetherby Lions was there in studio talking to my good friend Paul Andrews and myself about the then forthcoming Drovers Day. Keeping our promise, Tempo FM was out and about on Drovers Day itself, with Steve Frantz in studio and supported by Alan Everard. These are some of the conversations that Mike Davison and myself had during the day.
Sunday morning, the 9th of June, 2024. Well, Drovers Day in Wetherby, and we've been out and about already this morning, speaking to Eric Ovenden, and then we're back to the centre of Wetherby with Eric, and you've got someone to talk to about Drovers Day.
I have, Steve, and I've stopped by a very smartly dressed young lady, Natalie. Now, what instrument are you playing today, Natalie?
So I play cornet.
Now, I'm used to cornets with ice cream in them, but what's special about this particular one? How's it tuned?
Like any brass instrument, in brass bands, rather than using trumpets, we often use cornets. They tend to be a bit smaller and have a different tone, which mellows to the band.
Now, it's a bit breezy today. Is that likely to affect the launch of the music?
Not often. We normally have we have lyres that we clip our music to, and if anything falls off, we have people to pick it up at the end. So normally it's not too much to worry about.
I was wondering about that, because if you've got to change the music halfway on a march somewhere, you're doing sort of 14 things at once. Presumably that comes with practice.
Yeah, definitely. The more you do it, the easier it gets. But the most important thing is you just take a breath and don't rush, because if you rush, you're more likely to drop something.
So how long have you been doing this, Natalie?
So I've been playing in a brass band for, it'll be 12 years this year. Recently, in the past 2 years, I've been playing for the band I currently play for, and I've been really enjoying it. It's been a step up from my previous band to that. It's been really enjoyable.
So where would you like to take your music from here?
I think you can go anywhere with it. I really enjoy for the current band that I play for. I think we play some really challenging pieces of music, and it's really enjoyable. I think depending on where I end up in the future, I'm currently a uni student, so depending on where I end up depends on the band. But luckily I own my own instrument, so I can more or less go where needs be.
And if you've got to pay back the student loan, a street corner with a cornet might well get some money in.
Well, definitely. This is it. A lot more people are doing that, and it's quite enjoyable as well.
Well, I better let you get ready for the performance, and thank you for turning out on Drovers Day here in Wetherby, looking really smartly attired, so thank you very much.
Perfect, thank you.
Well, Steve, it's an overcast day here in the marketplace at Wetherby, but there's obviously enthusiasm for the music, and that's what we're here for today. So with that, back to you in the studio.
Eric, thank you very much indeed. That's Eric Ovenden out and about in the centre of Wetherby. Our man Mike Davison is out and about with someone who can tell us a lot more about Drovers Day. Mike, who are you with?
Yes, indeed. I've got the main sponsor of the event, and it's Vincent Eckerman from the Geneva Group. Tell us more. Why is it so important to be here?
Well, we were asked to get involved in the inaugural event last year, and it's the whole principle of this brass band competition, which is slightly different. And what's different is this is the local community supporting the brass band community, supporting its own town. Many of the brass band competitions are brass bands supporting the brass band community. I really like, and this really works, where you get the town working to produce something for the brass band community, but then the town gets something back as well. So it really was no difficult decision to come in as the main sponsor for this event.
Oh, that's very good to hear. Yeah, that's an interesting concept. I hadn't considered that.
Well, it's a concept a lot of people wouldn't realise. And so the Lions Club here, you got Rob Gray at the forefront of running all this, and you've got a bandstand which is really successful in supporting the brass band community. Then you've got your town, which really welcomes the actual event. So,
and you've got us as well.
Yes, absolutely, the local radio, and you, Mike, you're supporting around here. It's all good.
We've got a fine display of instruments on here. What's the purpose of today's instruments display?
Well, every musician needs to try. They need to try all the different types of instruments when they're making a decision to buy instruments. And we recommend that you should not buy an instrument unless you've tried it. Problem is, we're an artisan manufacturer, and our instruments are very expensive, and lots of shops are not going to stock our instruments because of the expense, and quite for that reason. So we like to bring the instruments to the players. So when we get a brass band festival like this, we set up a little corner, a trade stand, and they can come and try the instruments. There's no commitment, but we recommend they try because they are different and they're very good.
What's the price range of the instruments you've got on display here?
Well, we're in the range of the premium professional. So all manufacturers across the world have premium professional instruments, and they have their lesser ranges. We concentrate on premium professional only. Hence, Black Dyke. Everybody knows Black Dyke Band, who's a brass bandy. Black Dyke choose to play our instruments. The vast majority of the band play our instruments. Lots of the principal cornets around the world, and we have some of the finest players in the world play our instruments, and we call them artists. Prices are really what they would expect to pay, and it's a shock. So looking at this instrument behind us here, which is the Cardinal Tuba. Cardinal Tuba is got more metal in, and it's got more handcrafted element. That can be anything from £13,000. Whereas you look at the signature range we have, that starts at about £2,000. So really, these are not cheap instruments, and we don't suspect they should last 25 years. They're an investment for a musician for many years.
Indeed, yes, of course. And, well, it's a bit like a Stradivarius violin, isn't it, really?
It is. Somebody asked me how much they were this morning, and we had quite a laugh. It actually was the guy from the sports club across the way here. He was saying, well, how much are they, Vince? And I said, well, they're pretty expensive. And I told him, and he gasped. And I said, but... I said, well, what about cars? I said, if you imagine a car, if you're going out to buy a car, it's your budget you buy on. You don't budget. We'd all like to buy the Ferrari and the Aston Martins and everything else, but we have a budget. And the practicality and everything else of an instrument is exactly the same. You can go for the finest instruments in the world.
So you're expecting people to come along and actually you'll put a mouthpiece on and they'll try an instrument, is that right?
Yes, that's it, and they will. Especially when they've had a couple of beers as well. Everybody wants to try them. So
and there is a beer tent down here.
There is a beer tent, and that's the other thing. Your local community, again, is supporting a local beer manufacturer, local brewery. I think it's a Wetherby brewery, isn't it? Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, supporting the local Wetherby brewery, and it's fantastic, isn't it? So they've got the Drovers beer for the day. This is what makes this event special.
Well, you've really put this event in perspective, and I think it's a lot of perspective that people didn't realise. So thank you very much, Vince. And I hope
you're welcome, Mike.
A lot of interested customers today.
Thank you, Mike.
There we are, Steve. I think that's a very fascinating aspect of this contest.
Absolutely, Mike. That's absolutely fascinating. Yes, the price as well of those instruments. But as I say, they're an investment, aren't they? It's your tool for doing your job. Eric Ovenden, hello.
I'm in North Street at the junction of Bank Street, and the first of the bands is just arriving, being smartly led by members of the Air Training Corps, the Air Cadets. And this is the Knaresborough Silver Band. Well, they've come to a halt just outside the gardens. Right, they're now being marshalled up towards the area where they're going to play their first presentation piece. So it started. The Drovers Day 2024 is underway. A very good crowd here at the moment. Looking to my left, looking down the high street, the people are all on the edge of the pavements here, watching and waiting for the bands to come along. They're going to have to be patient because there's going to be a bit of a gap between bands as they march down. But there we are. Drovers Day is underway. And with that, Steve, back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Eric. It's great to hear. Eric Ovenden out and about. So the first off, the Knaresborough Silver Band already kicking things off down there in the centre of Wetherby. We will, of course, be back with Eric and Mike around the town. We're back with Eric Ovenden in the centre of Wetherby. Hello, Eric.
Hello there, Steve. The Knaresborough Band is just forming up. They have just done their first piece here at the Old Men's Parliament, the Garden of Rest. And they're now forming up into their ranks, ready to the second stage of marching down to the bandstand by Bridgefoot. The crowds have gathered. I don't remember it quite as busy as this since the Tour de France back in about, was it 2017, when the whole of the sides of the street were totally awash with people. So a good turnout today, already waiting for the band to take up the next stage. The bass drummer has just picked up the bass drum. They're standing in ranks, ready to go.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, they're heading off down. They're just by the old San Angelo pub and the old NatWest Bank, the narrowest point on the Great York Road, I'm told, between London and Edinburgh. So sound into the distance. So a few spits of rain now actually at the moment. Umbrellas are going up here in Wetherby, and we're waiting now for the next band, who should be along in about another 5 or 6 minutes. So with that, Steve, it's kicked off today and Wetherby Drovers Day. So with that, back to the studio.
and Mike Davison out and about. We're joining Mike now, who's got a couple of the musicians and the conductor with him as well. Hello, Mike.
Hello there, Steve. Yes, I've got the conductor of the Knaresborough Silver Band, Nick, and we've got a younger member of the band as well here. Ella, what do you play?
Cornet.
Cornet. How long have you been playing cornet?
About a year and a bit, I think.
Oh, very good. How do you like it?
It's probably my favourite one that I play.
Very good. Tell us something about the band.
Well, we're from Knaresborough, as the name suggests, and we're very much a community band. We're just coming out of the third section into the fourth, recovering past COVID, really. But we've got loads of members of the band, and we've got a training band, which is great. So we've got about 14 people in our training band and about 27 people in the main band. And we've had a very busy couple of days. I have to say, this is our third gig in 4 days.
Because you had the bed race yesterday.
We had the very famous Knaresborough bed race, and of course we were at the D-Day commemorations on Thursday in Knaresborough as well, which is extremely well attended. So we did a little concert at D-Day. We did the entire Knaresborough bed race playing a party march, which we actually replicated here today, and we've really enjoyed being the first band on here in Wetherby.
Right, okay. How was it for you being the first band?
It was really good, actually, because one of the things that makes you nervous is when you hear the band go on before, and if they're better than you, it kind of takes the edge off your performance a bit. So I think it's really great to open a competition like this because people are fresh and they're really looking forward to the first band playing. So the audience were absolutely fantastic.
Very good. And how did you find it?
It was really good. It was quite fun, but also a bit nerve-wracking.
Well, I expect that. So, is this the first time you've taken part in the Drovers contest?
No, I did it last year as well.
Oh, so you're well seasoned.
Sort of.
What's your next gig then?
We've got a bit of a break now, but we've got Durham Miners Gala coming up, of course, so we'll be doing some of the marching that we've done today in the Miners Gala. And we've got a number of concerts all throughout the summer, so we're really looking forward to it.
Will you be back at Wetherby at any time?
We're not going to be on the bandstand. We didn't make it onto the bandstand this year, actually. We're hoping maybe we can get on next year. If the competition's a success, then we'll certainly be coming back and supporting it next year.
Best of luck. I hope you've satisfied the judges who are tucked away there in Purda.
I think we've satisfied the audience, and that's the main thing, Mike.
Yes, I think I think where you're coming from. Yeah. Okay.
Right,
Thanks very much. Thank you. There we go. Back to you, Steve.
Thank you, Mike. Mike Davison, out and about there. It's back to Eric Ovenden in the centre of Wetherby. Hello, Eric.
Hello there, Steve. The actual sunshine is beginning to look a bit better now here in the top end of Wetherby, so I'm hopeful that it's going to stay fair for the afternoon. Can I ask, how far have you come for today?
Pontefract.
Pontefract. So what's brought you here? Is it a love of band music? So what's your interest in bands?
I've been the bandsman most of my adult life.
So you're looking at this with a very professional view by the look of it?
Not a professional view, but an enjoyable view.
So as someone who knows, what would you be looking for on a day like this?
No, just the music.
Just the music?
Just the music.
Okay.
And that. I'm not... The marching is good, but just the music. It's lovely.
So what instrument did you play?
Cornet.
Cornet. It seems quite a popular instrument.
Yeah, well, it's probably the best.
It looks more manageable on a day like this when you've got water dripping down the tuba.
Yeah, and you've got to admire the bandsman when it's weather like this, because to keep an instrument warm in this weather and this rain, it gets a bit...
Interesting, talking to somebody who knows what they're looking at and have enjoyed playing the cornet, obviously, for many, many years, and come all the way from Pontefract. I'll hand back to you in the studio.
Eric, thank you ever so much indeed. Mike Davidson is out and about, and Mike has found some people who've travelled a bit of a distance to join us today. Hello, Mike.
Indeed, they have travelled a bit of a distance, and they come all the way from Devon, would you believe? And you are, sir?
Tim Williams.
And you represent Bandemonium, is that right?
That's it, yes. We're similar to the Wetherby Drovers, but based in West Devon, around 6 little villages.
6 villages?
Yeah. The infrastructure, getting the bands around is it's a headache, but it's fun. It's a fun day. They dress up, fancy dress, and everyone maybe have a tipple or two.
I think you're giving us ideas here. Fancy dress. I don't know whether I like that idea.
Well, it's not prerequisite, but many of them do that.
How many years has yours been going?
This will be our 3rd year, so we're a year older.
Oh, well, that's something anyway, so we're not far behind.
Yeah, no, not at all. And Rob and I, the organiser here, talk most weeks because we're both sponsored by Geneva Instruments, who are doing amazing work supporting grassroots banding around the country. We've had a long weekend, so we're staying up in the Dales and so we made an excuse for a little trip out.
And why not? Yeah. So have you enjoyed your trip to Yorkshire then?
Of course. It's amazing.
How many times have you been up here?
Once. Oh, well, no, hang on. We went to Whit Friday, so it's not quite in Yorkshire.
Yeah, it's towards the west side of it.
We went on a detour trying to get to Delft, so we did end up in Huddersfield. So is that Yorkshire?
Yes, it's definitely Yorkshire.
Yes, twice.
Right, there we are. Well, I hope you enjoy the rest of your journey here and enjoy the rest of the music today.
Yeah, it is brilliant. Well done to everyone who's organised it. Brilliant stuff.
You've been listening to Townscape, Drovers Day 2024, here on Tempo FM. The programme featured the voices of Martin Doxey from the Wetherby Lions, Paul Andrews, and the outside broadcast team comprising Steve Frantz in studio, Alan Everard, Mike Davison and myself, Eric Ovenden. Townscape, where Tempo FM tracks down and investigates things of interest in the local community.